Hare Krishna. You have enemies? Good. That means you have stood for something sometime in your life. Winston Churchill. We all find ourselves sometimes in situations when people oppose us. And especially when we are trying to do something good, when we are trying to do something positive. And at that time, we expect people to assist us. I'm doing such a noble thing, I'm doing such a valuable thing. And when we expect people to help us, if at that time some people oppose us, that can be very disturbing. It can be very disheartening. It can even be devastating for our aspiration to do something positive. But that doesn't have to be like that. If we understand the reality of this world, that this is a place of conflict. And for whatever reason, different people have different interests. Many of them have vested interests. And with those vested interests, when they function, at that time, they easily get caught in their own small worlds. This is good, this is bad. And then when somebody comes with a bigger vision of what is to be done, it threatens their small interests. And then they sometimes oppose it rabidly. Severely they oppose it. Because their small worlds with their securities are threatened by some bigger vision. So, if we get disturbed by the opposition that we face, when people whom we expected, they would either be neutral or they would support us. When those people go against us, then we may get taken aback. But even if we are taken aback, we don't have to go back. Taken aback means we are surprised. What am I to do? I didn't expect this. But go back means we just abandon our determination. We give up our plan to do something positive. So rather than becoming discouraged when we face opposition, we can become encouraged. Why encouraged? Because we can see that opposition as a testimony to the authenticity of our contribution. That we are really doing something worthwhile. That's why people are getting shaken up. When we understand this, then we can move forward steadily, even amidst opposition. Of course, we don't have to court enemies. We don't have to provoke people intentionally. We don't have to be insensitive, inept. We don't have to do things which will unnecessarily make people inimical. But at the same time, we don't have to be afraid that if I do this, people will become inimical, so I will not do it. No. Sometimes to get something done, we have to take a stand. And taking a stand means that we will face the opposition, the criticism, the attacks, even the enmity of those who are opposed to that stand. But we need to stand firm. And when we have done due introspection, when we have solid intellectual conviction that what we are doing is worthwhile, that our stand is based on reality, then we can determinedly face the opposition, seeing it as a testimony to our contribution. Indeed, this is how we need to pursue any principled course of action. For example, when we start practicing spiritual life, when we start devoting more time to our inner growth, when we start spending more and more of our efforts, our attention on understanding life's big questions, on pursuing life's big purpose, then that often threatens materialistic people. The Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, 69th verse states that The worldviews of materialistic people and of spiritual people are radically opposite. That these worldviews are so different that it's almost like what is day for one is night for the other. They're sometimes incomprehensible. And naturally, materialistic people will feel threatened when they see a person devoted to spirituality. Why? Because often materialistic people have made a life, have made a career based on their own materialism and other people's materialism. If people become spiritual, they become less materialistic. Then the people, the corporates, for example, who have the business conglomerates who make money by instigating material desires within people, they feel threatened, because if people start living lives of voluntary simplicity based on their spirituality, then what will happen to our business? And then they sometimes oppose. We see throughout history that some of the greatest saints were not necessarily acclaimed as the greatest saints during their times. During times they were opposed, they were threatened, they were reviled, they were tortured, some of them were martyred. But in retrospect, when people understood the greatness of their vision, the greatness of their contribution, then they were recognized as great saints. Of course, we don't have to fancy ourselves as great saints or even as saints in the making, but we can take inspiration from their example, that we don't have to become discouraged by opposition. So when we pursue, when we see and then seek life's spiritual side, then we are taking a stand that life is not just meant for the inane pleasures of food, sleep, sex and power, that there is something more to life. And this stand will naturally generate opposition from those who have wedded their life to the pursuit of food, sleep, sex and power. Rather than treating them as enemies, we can treat them as people who are deceased. Because of their materialistic attachments, they are sick and they are not able to perceive properly. So just as if we go to a mental asylum, we don't take, even if a resident of that asylum attacks us, we don't take that attack seriously. We'll defend ourselves, we will restrain that person, but we won't treat that person as an enemy. So we don't have to treat people as enemies even when they act as our enemies. We can try to see with spiritual knowledge and be as sensitive and as kind to them as possible. But at the same time, we stay firm and purposeful, seeing their opposition as testimony to the validity and the value of our contribution. Thank you. Hare Krishna.